Okay, let's get real for a second. We really talk about the kings of 90s R&B without giving Jon B his due props. I mean, the guy had us all hooked with They Don't Know, making us believe in love, heartbreak, and, let's be honest, smooth-talking men with goatees. Hold up, here's the real question. What's behind that silky voice and undeniable charm? Stick with me, because I'm about to spill the tea on things you won't believe happened in the life of this once crowned, white babyface. Let's set the stage. A blue-eyed, baby-faced white boy from Pasadena stepping into the R&B scene and thriving. No one saw that coming. Sure, Altadena, Pasadena, is pretty diverse, but still, it was a bold move. But here's the twist. Growing up in a house where music wasn't just a hobby, it was law. Imagine this. Grandparents who owned a record store, parents who were classically trained musicians. Sounds like the ultimate setup for an artist, right? But let's rewind and look at how Jon B actually made it all happen. And trust me, his rise wasn't all smooth sailing and love songs. Behind the hits was a journey filled with side eyes, shade, and some serious resistance. Jonathan David Buck, born November 11, 1974, in Providence, Rhode Island, may have started off in the Northeast, but he grew up in sunny Pasadena, California, where he'd eventually make his mark. Now, while some kids grew up in households where athleticism was the focus or fashion was key, Jon's upbringing was all about music. His parents were both music teachers. His dad, David Sr., was a professor, and his mom, Linda, was a concert pianist. In a home where music wasn't optional, you didn't just listen to it, you played it. By 4th grade, Jon was already mastering the keyboard, guitar, and drums, while his peers were still figuring out how to tie their shoes. But here's the kicker, none of this explains how a white kid ended up dominating the R&B world. Simple, while his parents kept it strictly classical, his cool grandparents had a record store that was a secret gateway to all kinds of forbidden genres. You name it, R&B, rock, disco, Jon was soaking it all up. It was like a dream come true, except for the fact that not everyone was here for it. High school, Jon's love for R&B raised some serious eyebrows. Some of his black classmates couldn't wrap their heads around a white kid embracing what they considered their culture, and, to make matters worse, some accused him of being a fraud. They straight up bullied him for daring to sing R&B as a white dude. The teasing got so bad that Jon's parents had no choice but to pull him out of his old high school and enroll him at LA County High School instead. And let me tell you, this is where everything started to change. It was here that Jon found his voice, literally. He joined the gospel choir, and that's where the magic happened. It wasn't until high school, though, because I got into the gospel choir. And yeah, I'm so grateful for those years, Jon recalled. This is where he truly learned how to sing the right way. Already had the voice, but gospel music gave him something that can't be taught, the soul. By age 17, Jon was ready to make his wildest dreams a reality. He started hustling, shopping his demos around LA recording studios, just like everyone else trying to make it. Hip-hop and my whole area was all about taking their tapes and shopping them around, hoping someone would hear something in them, Jon remembers. He was aiming to stay behind the scenes, writing songs for other artists. Deep down, he was thinking, if someone likes my music, maybe I can eventually produce or even perform. It wasn't that he didn't believe in himself, it was more that the backlash from school, combined with doubts about being fully accepted by the R&B community, made him hesitant to step into the spotlight. But everything changed when he submitted his demo to Yab Yum Records. And if that name rings a bell, it should, because Tracy Edmonds, then CEO of the label, was married to none other than the legendary Babyface. Yes, that Babyface. I was just shopping deals, playing my tapes for anyone who'd listen, Jon recalls. When Tracy and Babyface heard his demo, they immediately saw his potential, and they weren't about to let him stay behind the scenes. Sure, Jon had been writing hits for major artists like Toni Braxton, New Edition, and Rotak, but they knew he could be more. They believed that R&B and pop fans, no matter his background, would accept him. And if you're wondering if they were right, well, in 1995, Jon dropped his debut album, Bonafide. The lead single, Someone to Love featuring Babyface, wasn't just a hit, it was a Grammy-nominated anthem. The album went certified platinum, and another single, Pretty Girl, climbed to the top of the charts. But while his songs were dominating the airwaves, behind the scenes, things weren't as smooth as they seemed. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest struggles 90s artists faced. And no, it wasn't surviving the TRL countdown against the Backstreet Boys. I'm talking about the infamous record label drama. For Jon, it all began with creative differences. You kind of make mistakes and see yourself in ways you might not want to see, he said. Jon was all about smooth, soulful, make you text your ex R&B he wasn't interested in anything else. But, as it often goes in the music business, the label had a different vision for him. They tried to make me something I wasn't, and that's okay, he admits. They saw his hit singles from Bonafide, Pretty Girl and Someone to Love, and thought, let's make this guy a pop star. Pushed him to cross over and experiment with mainstream pop. But Jon wasn't about to sell out his R&B roots for a shot at pop radio. He stood firm, insisting on creating what would go on to be his career-defining album, Cool Relax. There was a clear shift between Bonafide and Cool Relax, and thank goodness there was. Cool Relax was the album that changed everything. In 1997, when it dropped, it gave us instant classics like They Don't Know, which hit number 2 on the R&B charts, Don't Say, number 34 on the R&B charts, and of course, the legendary Are You Still Down, featuring none other than the king of hip-hop himself, Tupac. And let's be real, when you think of Tupac, collaborating with an R&B artist isn't exactly the first thing that comes to mind. So how in the world did these two come together? Well, according to Jon, his friend Bezel was at Pac's video shoot one day and, as fate would have it, Tupac was a huge fan of Jon's music. And when you're fresh in the game, still navigating the mess that is the music industry, and one of the biggest names in rap is vibing to your songs in his car, well, you don't say no when he asks you to meet him. And that's exactly what Jon did. The two hit the studio and created Are You Still Down? A track that practically wrote itself. We were about 3 hours in, pretty much done, Jon recalls. And now, of course, it's a certified classic. But back then, the song almost never saw the light of day. Why? You guessed it, record label drama. And this time, I hate to say it, but the label had a point. R&B and hip-hop collabs were rare back in the day, especially when you're talking about pairing squeaky clean Jon B with gangster Pac, who was smack in the middle of the East Coast-West Coast rap war. I mean, think about it, Hit Em Up was already out, the beef was in full swing, and Pac was beefing with practically half the industry. So, naturally, Jon's label was like, you want us to market a love song featuring a guy who's in the middle of the most intense rap beef in history? No thanks. But despite their hesitation, they eventually released the track, though it wasn't until after Pac's tragic death in 1996. That's when the label finally relented. Alright, we'll put it out and see what happens, they said. And then, Pac was gone. But let's pause on the career drama and label struggles for a second, because trust me, we need to dive into something a bit more personal, Jon B's love life. For a guy who made his career serenading women and making us all feel like we were the only ones in the room, you'd think his love life would be straight out of a romance movie, right? Yeah, not so much. Jon B's relationships, oh, they've definitely had their fair share of side eyes, public scrutiny, and a whole lot of drama. Let's rewind to 1999, when Jon tied the knot with his longtime girlfriend, Music Galloway. Now, you'd think this was going to be all romance and slow jams, right? Well, think again, because this marriage was doomed from the start. And why, you ask? Oh, just a little thing called public opinion. If you know anything about Jon B's fanbase, you know that black women basically ran his fan club in the 90s. I mean, come on, he was the smooth, blue-eyed R&B heartthrob, and women were ready to risk it all for him. So when the news broke that he was dating, and then marrying, a black woman, oh, the streets were buzzing. Some fans were here for it. But others, not so much. And let me tell you, some folks were not happy. People started questioning everything. Was Jon B really about the culture, or was he just playing a part? Did he marry music because he truly loved her, or was it just to make a statement? Was this whole relationship a PR stunt? So, yeah, Jon and music called it quits. But before you start feeling sorry for him, don't worry, sis, Jon was just fine. By 2007, he was back in love and off the market, marrying his now wife of 17 years, Danette Buck. Hold up, Danette, you've been married for 17 years. Yep, you heard that right, 17 years. And this time, no messy headlines, no public drama, just pure love. What's the key to keeping it strong? You might ask. Well, Jon's got it figured out. I think the main key in the lock is communication, he says. Simple, right? And to top it all off, Jon and Danette have two beautiful daughters, Lewin True and Azure Luna. They're 16 and 9. Wait, actually, she's 10 now. Whoops, time flies. So, hey, at least there's one happy ending in this story. But hold up, because now we need to take it back to the time Jon B made that comment about Beyoncé that put him under some serious fire. Picture this, the mid-90s. Destiny's Child is just getting started, and a 16-year-old Beyoncé is opening for none other than Jon B. Yep, you heard that right. Queen Bey used to warm up the stage for our boy Jon. Pretty cool, right? Well, fast forward to years later, and Jon's reminiscing about those early days in an interview. Then, he lets this little statement slip. A little 16, 17-year-old Beyoncé. I'm sorry, but, because I'm a grown man at the time, it's kind of wrong. But, wait, what? The internet lost it when that clip resurfaced. Fans weren't having it, calling him out for objectifying a teenage Beyoncé and basically saying, that's not the flex you think it is. But here's the thing. Jon B didn't see it that way. For Jon B, the whole Beyoncé interview was just an innocent memory, no harm intended. He meant no disrespect and would never have crossed any boundaries. But let's fast forward to 2024, when Jon B found himself back in the headlines, and this time, it was big drama. Enter Chloe Bailey and rapper Gunna, who released a track called You and Me. And guess what? They sampled Jon B's iconic They Don't Know. Know the one. They don't know about this. Yeah, that hit. Instead of showing love, Jon B didn't hold back. He straight up dragged their version, calling it ratchet and saying, I wish they never released it. I couldn't stand it, he said, and I wish they never did. Now, before you start coming for Jon B, there's a twist. It turns out the duo never even got permission to sample his song. Imagine, someone takes your work, flips it, refuses to acknowledge you, and, oh yeah, doesn't even bother paying you for it. Yeah, I'd be mad too. Now, let's talk about coins. Because if you thought Jon B was still living off checks from his 90s hits, think again. In a jaw-dropping 2023 interview, Jon B admitted that he's never been paid a single dime from his record sales. The only money he's made from his music. Live shows. I get checks because I do shows, but I don't get paid for my records, he revealed. Wait, what? The man who gave us some of the most iconic R&B hits hasn't made a dime off them. No royalties, no streaming checks, nothing. You haven't made a check from one record? The interviewer asked. From any of my records, Jon responded. Hold up, Jon B, are you serious? Now, let's pause and just digest this for a second. How wild is that? You'd think a guy with platinum albums and chart-topping hits would be sitting pretty. So where did all the money go? Well, this is why artists need great lawyers. Back in the day, record labels were handing out some of the worst contracts in music history. Before you start feeling too sorry for Jon B, don't. He's not broke. Despite being robbed of his royalties, Jon B is still doing just fine, with an estimated net worth of about $4 million. And as for 2025, don't think for a second that Jon B is done. Still in the game. He's performing all over the world, dropping new singles, and collaborating with artists. While he might not be topping the charts like he once did, Jon B is still widely respected in the R&B world. And let's be real, whether you love him, hate him, or are still wondering why he didn't get the recognition he deserved, one thing's for sure, his white baby face legacy is cemented in R&B history.